Warning: this video contains lights that may be harmful to photosensitive viewer.
That's right, Cooper. I'm gonna
molest you!
Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy Slurpo Seth here, back with another Minecraft video. Today I'm going to be building Super Mario from Super Mario 64 into Minecraft. It's not going to be an easy task, and it's going to take a lot of time, so let's not waste any more time and let's get straight into it. I've sectioned off this build into 3 phases, so let's get right into it and start with phase 1, Sculpting. Starting with the longest portion of the build, sculpting took me about 7 hours. First, I built an outline of Mario in profile, and one on the side of his front. You might be wondering why I'm using pink right now. When my girlfriend saw me doing this, she thought I was building Wario, but I'm using magenta wool just to get Mario's shape down, then I'll go in later and change the blocks to the actual colors. It might seem like more work, but I'd rather focus on one aspect at a time, rather than sculpting out the shape and worrying about what color each block is supposed to be. My original plan was to just do this and then fill in the blocks in between, but once I gave it a few more seconds of thought, I realized how much brain power this project is going to take. You also might be wondering why I only seem to be building half of Mario, and this is because Mario is fairly symmetrical, and to make this whole process easier on me, I decided to just start with one half, then I'll build his other side later. But for this process, I used reference images of Mario's character model in Super Mario 64 and tried to rebuild each individual polygon, and let's just say it was not a very easy task.
Here we go!
But as you can see here, the sculpting is done. I think I did a pretty decent job, and now we're off to the second phase, coloring. This was the shortest phase of the operation and only took me about 3 hours. At this point, I'm just going through the statue and replacing the wool with the correct blocks. I started by sectioning off the segments that will use the same blocks. Then I built the textures on Mario's face and hat. You'll see me going back and forth from the build a lot because I need to see like the actual big picture and like make sure it all looks right when it's in context. Did you know, contrary to popular belief, Super Mario 64 was not the first 3D video game? To people who are into video games, you might have already known that, but I've heard several people on the internet say that before. The true first 3D game, depending on who you ask or what you consider to be a 3D game, could be the 1970s computer game Maze, the 1990s Super Nintendo game Star Fox, or my personal opinion, the 1980s Atari game iRobot, which was not only released before Super Mario 64, but was released even before the first Super Mario Bros. Arcade game. Sure, Maze used perception through pixels to show depth, but iRobot was the first video game to use polygons instead of sprites, not popularized until about a decade later with the release of the Nintendo 64 and the PlayStation 1. Anyways, it seems like coloring's done, and it seems like we got half a Mario on our hands. Now that Mario's fully colored, it's time to get into the third and final phase, mirroring. Now that one half is done, all I have left to do is copy the design over to the other half. This process was very tedious, but more boring than difficult. Really, just going to the finished side, memorizing where a few blocks are, going back to the other side, and copy. It took about 6 hours, and at this point my brain was just kind of on autopilot, and I was just sitting in my room listening to country music. Am I the only one who isn't the biggest fan of Super Mario 64? I mean, I prefer it over Super Mario Sunshine, but when I bought Super Mario 3D All-Stars as a Switch game when it came out in 2021 or something like that, and at that point I'd only played one of the 3 games, Super Mario Galaxy. And I was pretty excited to play Super Mario 64, and honestly, I was pretty disappointed. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's the first 3D Mario game from like 25 years ago at that point, so I wasn't expecting too much, but I always heard about it in like conversations about Super Mario, and I grew up watching SMG4, so I always saw the models and stuff, but I don't know, maybe it's actually funner on the actual N64 itself, and I have an opinion here, please don't threaten me for saying this, but I honestly prefer Super Mario 64 DS. I'm not sure how controversial that is, but having more options for the characters to play as and better graphics even on a smaller screen, I just think it's a better game, especially when it comes to the controls. Surprisingly, considering the DS only had a directional pad instead of a joystick. Anyway, it looks like we're finally done.
Thank you guys for watching my video. This is my final Super Mario 64. It took me roughly 15 hours to complete. Let me know if you guys like it in the comments, and if you really liked it, hit that subscribe button. My name is Slurpo Seth, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.
Slurpo Seth. Subscribe or else.